Hey guys, it's Toby Mathis, and I was doing a podcast yesterday or live cast, and people were asking a lot of questions about the Corporate Transparency Act and whether it's still around. So I'm going to do a quick update for 2025 as to what's going on with the Corporate Transparency Act, give you a little background, and also share with you kind of a chart of what's been going on time-wise. So here, let me just do that real quick. And you can see the relevant dates. I'll just put them up here so you can see them very easily. What we have right now, as it stands, is there is a nationwide injunction that was entered on December 3rd of 2024 by the Fifth Circuit, a district court in Texas. That was an action called Texas Top Cop Shop and the NFIB, National Federation of Independent Businesses, that got a district court judge to enact a nationwide injunction. And if you look at those December dates, you'll see that there was a bunch of them. So on the 5th, or excuse me, on the 3rd of December, the court entered a national injunction. It was overturned, which means the injunction was stayed on December 23rd. On December 26th, it was vacated. The stay was vacated and the injunction was allowed to remain. That was appealed to the Supreme Court. That's currently pending to see whether Alito takes it. That's the justice that would decide whether or not to hear it. We don't know yet. There's been pleadings on both sides. I think 25 attorney generals threw in. And what we know for certain is that the appellate court has scheduled oral arguments for March 25th of 2025. So that's where it is right now. You do not have to file your beneficial ownership information. But should you file, if you are a entity that was in existence that needs to file prior to January 1st of 2024, so you were before 2024, you had your LLC, your corporation, or you had a trust registered with the state, and oh man, I knew I needed to file. I was waiting to the last minute. You had a year to file. 11 of those months you were required to file, and then there's a national injunction. That national injunction could go away tomorrow. That's my concern. So if that's you and you're just a small mom and pop business, you're already filing, it's going on your tax return. It doesn't hurt you to file that BOI report and you get it out of your life. People are like, well, the government's intrusive and the government's already getting this information. The banks have to know who their people are. They collect data. The feds, when you're filing and you get your SS4, your Social Security's numbers put on there. When you're filing your taxes, it's going on your Schedule C if you're a disregarded entity, and if you're a sole proprietor, is going on your Schedule E if you're a S corp or a partnership. They're already seeing it. So I'm not of the crowd that says, don't give them anything. They already have it. They just said before the CTA was enacted, which was enacted on January, you can see that up there. It was enacted on January 1st, 2021. This has been coming a long time. Multiple courts have taken a whack at this. There's 4 appeals going on right now. Only 2 of them have they granted injunctions. Only 1 of them have they granted a national injunction. So 3 courts that the CTA is on appeal on declined to grant a national injunction. They did grant an injunction in Alabama for just the plaintiffs, saying that, hey, this was intrastate commerce that Congress really shouldn't be enacting, and they wanted to hear they wanted to hear it out, and they said, hey, we're going to stay it for those people because they had a good faith showing that, hey, they didn't really do interstate commerce. They were doing intrastate, which means that they weren't going beyond the state line, so Congress shouldn't have the ability to regulate it. That was the argument. And the court said, we still think the Corporate Transparency Act could be constitutional outside of that, but they were looking at it for those specific people. That one, there was oral arguments in September. That is, let me find the case here. It is right here, the Winkles. So it's the Winkles case. So we have the Northern District of Alabama. You can see where it is. It's Winkles v. Yellen, I believe. And that's our appellate argument's already been had. We just don't have an opinion. And it's not going to affect the nationwide injunction. 2 other cases. Firestone versus Yellen, Michigan versus Yellen, 3 other cases, community associations versus Yellen. In every one of those, the court said constitutional. There's still 2 of those are still active, but we're not going to grant an injunction. They had the opportunity to do it. If it was such a slam dunk, like some of these folks online say, why didn't these courts grant an injunction? Now, hopefully, the Corporate Transparency Act gets disposed of by Congress. They get rid of it. It was this close to getting tossed before the end of the year because it was part of the budget. And if they had passed that 1,500-page monstrosity, right, that Elon Musk came down and they cut it down to 200, it was one of the 1,300 pages that they cut to get rid of the Corporate Transparency Act. So it was really close. My problem is, do you really want to sit around and wait for that? So if you're somebody who was supposed to file earlier in 2024 and now you're getting a reprieve at the end of the year, that thing could come back. And the problem is the penalties are so nasty. It's $591 a day. It's a $10,000 fine. It's 2 years in prison. So do you want, right? Even though right now it stayed, it could come back. And are you willing to wait and watch and then immediately act on, hey, it's back, I actually need to file it? And, all things being equal, I think that you're looking at March, at least, where we have this injunction. You may see the Supreme Court take it. It'd be interesting if they do. But more than likely, you're talking about a stay that's going to go on for a long period of time. And then when it comes back, which my guess is that it will come back if the courts work their way through it, it may get portions of it. They might say, hey, we have issues with, and the government has its opportunity at stay in court. It may come back. And the problem that we have is before the end of the year, they they stayed the injunction, and I think they gave us about 3 weeks to do the filing. If that happens again, are you willing to sit there and watch, then act if this thing comes back again? If the answer is no, I don't want to deal with it, then you have an entity that was created before 2024, just file the darn thing. Just get it out of your life. If you're somebody who just feels really, really strongly, I get where you're at, then you plug in and watch. And if you're not going to file because you're just mad as heck, you're just not going to file, I just don't want to file unless they really force me to, then watch. But if you're somebody who just wants it out of your life, then do it and get rid of it. That's what I'm going to say on that. All right, guys, if you have any comments, put them down below. As always, please like and subscribe and share this with anybody else. But as of 2025, there is no legal requirement to do the beneficial ownership information with FinCEN. The CTA is enjoined. The BOI is enjoined as of today. But as I said, if you were somebody who had an entity prior to 2024 and you were under the legal obligation to file by January 1st, 2025 for 11 months out of last year, and you want it out of your life, I would just go ahead and do it. If you're a small business, they already have this information. For all the rest of you guys who say, like, no, I don't want to do that, I'm just going to be really strong about it, then just stay tuned and keep watching so that you don't get yourself into the crosshairs of some potentially huge penalties, and you don't want the government coming after you, right? So God bless to all you guys. And for those of you guys who, again, this has been a whipsaw. There was, the actions that were taken by courts, then they were stayed, then they were vacated, the stay of the action that was taken by a court. Yeah, it's been very, very confusing. But what we know right now, as we're sitting here in January 2025, is that there's not a legal obligation until a court takes an action. As soon as a court takes an action, we will let you know, and then you'll have a legal obligation, or may not, depending on what the court does or whether Congress acts. We'll let you know either way, whether or not this is something you ever have to worry about. Hopefully we never have to waste another minute on it, but I'll let you know as soon as we can. Thanks, guys.